Okay. Welcome everyone. We're just going to wait for a few people to attend. I think we have one or two already, so we're just going to wait just a 1 or 2 minutes so that everyone gets a chance to join. Hi everyone. Great to see the numbers popping in now. We're just going to wait just another minute just for people to join. Going to wait just a few more seconds just to give everyone a chance. Okay, I'm going to kick off now, and as people join in, this will be recorded anyway. So if you are looking to kind of look back on it, and you can look back on our YouTube or website. And so welcome everyone who attended today. And my name is Aoife Breslin, and I'm the Marketing Communications Manager for Sims IVF. And just a little bit about Sims. We have 3 locations in Ireland. So we're in Swords and Clonskea and in Cork, and we also have a satellite clinic in Carlow. So kind of well covered throughout Ireland. So yeah, I'm just going to start off. So we're joined tonight by Niamh, Kim, and Doreen, and they recently did the Sunday World piece for us called The Ticking Clock, and it was just exploring fertility treatment and just giving some awareness around fertility treatment and what's the ins and outs from a patient's perspective, which I think is really, really important. And it's something we were kind of talking about earlier, was that even a few years ago when some of our lovely ladies were starting off their treatment, there wasn't as such. People didn't really talk about it as much, whereas I think nowadays people are coming out and they are talking, which is great. It's fantastic. It gives awareness, and it kind of takes away the fear maybe around treatment. But I'll just hand off. I suppose I'll go over to me first, and if you just want to introduce yourself and just give a little bit of a background, if you'd like.
No bother. Hey everybody, my name is Niamh Quinlan. So I have now got 20-month-old triplets, but they were our 9th fertility cycle. So we went through quite a journey to get to where we are. And our final success was with Sims IVF. But I suppose I'm doing this because we went through so many failed cycles that we got to the point that we thought there was no one out there saying I had 7 cycles and I had success. I had 8 cycles and had success. So for us, it was really important to tell that story because there is hope and there is a light at the end of the tunnel, especially for people who might be in a situation where they think I've done 2 cycles or 3 cycles and still nothing, and think, there is no journey. So hence why I'm here, and hence that's why we want to tell our story.
Thanks so much, Niamh. And also, if anyone has any questions, you can pop it into the Q&A box. And just so you're aware, we can't really answer any medical questions. So anything just pertaining to the girls here tonight. But yeah, Kim, if you'd like to share your story.
Yeah, so I'm Kim. I am a mum of a nearly 4-year-old little boy and a just gone 2-year-old little girl. And we got married in 2015, and I suppose like any couple, within the first year we tried and nothing was happening. So with history on my family side, we thought that oh look, we should just go and get checked out, and we did, and it ended up kind of being a combination factor between the 2 of us. So we literally got like our results, and within a couple of weeks we started onto our first cycle, and we were very lucky. I suppose we got 4 embryos to freeze, and then when we transferred 2, we got Marvin, and we did lose 2 took, but we did lose 1 at around 10 weeks, and then 2 years later we transferred 2 again, and we got Megan out of it. So that's where we are, and we're about to start onto our next journey of a cycle now in September.
Very good. Thanks, Kim. Doreen, would you like to go next?
Yeah. Hi, my name is Doreen Cullen. I am a mammy to Noah, who's nearly 2. I went down the route using Sims for donor sperm to have Noah because I always wanted a baby and I hadn't met the person to do that. So I kind of went to them, and now I have Noah, who's 20 months, and he's That's what it is. I done 3 rounds of IUI, and then on my first round of IVF, I conceived Noah. So
Amazing. Thanks, Doreen. Thanks, ladies. So I think that just I'm going to go through just some of the questions that we got through Instagram, and like I said, if you do have any queries, you can pop them into the Q&A box, and we'll do our best to answer them. But one of the questions that came through, was there any preparation before beginning meds? So like, did you do any supplements or exercise or acupuncture or anything like that? Any one of you can go ahead if you like.
yeah, I done acupuncture, and when did I didn't do it for my IUIs, and then it was recommended for my IVF, so I had started it before my IVF meds. And I also was on a few supplements and folic acid. I think it was Q10 I was taking. And I, like that, I was at the gym working out, kind of just getting myself as fit as I could, possibly before rounds.
Yeah, very good.
I was similar to Doreen, to be honest with you. I was working out, just making sure I was fit and healthy, trying not to overdo it either. One thing people said is, try not to over exercise either. But also I found after so many rounds, I tried to stop overthinking it too. We think about, oh God, we need to eat pineapple, we need to eat Brazil nuts, and you'll read all this stuff online. And like, honest God, like by the last round I was sort of like, I was eating healthy, I was working out. And we did take, for the last round, both Jeff and I took the Prociv vitamin that was recommended by the doctor in Sims at the time. And that was the only thing we did on the last round that was our success round. We didn't do acupuncture that time. We didn't do any of the other things. So I think it is important, more than anything, is to try not to stress too much about these things. I do find there is benefit in all of it, but if you get too stressed and too anxious, that's probably worse than, not or doing things or not doing things, personally, is my opinion on it.
Yeah, and I was kind of the same. Like, I suppose the first time we kind of, when we found out that we were going to have to do IVF, the kind of dates just worked out, and we were like very quickly into it. So I suppose we didn't have time to think about it. So we just literally were taking the supplements that Sims had recommended. But I didn't do acupuncture, and you laugh at this because I'm afraid of needles. soon got over that though when you go through the IVF. But I think a little bit of what Niamh said, you try. It's best to try not to overthink it. I think just, how many people naturally get pregnant without taking all these extra supplements, or like eating the pineapple, doing the Brazil nuts. So I was kind of like, okay, trying to be as healthy as I can, doing what Sims had recommended, but not to kind of, I suppose, overanalyze every little thing.
Yeah. Were any of you, I suppose, did you find, if you were working during treatment, did you find that challenging? Was that a challenging aspect?
I worked, when I was doing my IUIs, I worked through them all, and I'm a chef, so I was working like crazy hours, and then I was traveling up and down for appointments, and it was just mental. I think that for me didn't help. So then when I decided to move to IVF, I worked up until egg collection, and then I took 3 weeks off while I done transfer and waited then for the result before I went back. And I find I was just a lot less stressed worrying about getting up for appointments back then, traveling. That it was more the traveling that than anything else, really.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I worked through it all, to be honest with you. Sims was really convenient for us. It's 5 minutes, 10 minutes down the road. So and they're very accommodating with appointments. We used to do early morning appointments. So the only day I took off was the day of egg collection on all of my cycles. I did think about taking loads of time off with it. But for me, I would have been sitting at home thinking, did it not take? And again, I'm a person, if I'm busy, I'm not thinking about something. Again, I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. I think if you are doing some job that's super stressful, like I work for a really nice company, it's a very nice place to work. Don't tend to get stressed too often, that you're better off working. But if it's a very stressful job, and like Doreen said, if you're on your feet and it's exhausting, definitely that's a different scenario. Whereas I sit at an office desk, I'm very, I can relax and take my time, and I would have been worse at home, because you know the 2-week wait, and anyone who's on this call who has done it or is about to go down it, 2-week wait is hard from when you transfer the embryos to waiting to find out did it work or not. And a lot of people Google every symptom, you know, like the first day I had my transfer, oh God, I have a headache. Like, you know, what does this mean? And it means nothing, but you think I'll Google it and see. So I think I was better off being in the office, but that was just me personally, you know. So I was distracted from what's this mean? What's this mean? Because you drive yourself mad.
Yeah, and I kind of would have been the same. Location wise, it was handy for me to get to appointments, and with my job as well, they were flexible with me to go in and out of appointments. I am a nurse, so I do shift work at times. So there was times for periods that I did have to take off, and I ended up getting the ovarian hyperstimulation syndrome after egg collection. So I was out for kind of a week to 10 days after that, because I had to go back in for drainage and that. So look, I advise to anyone, if you can, just take it as it comes. And like, my job was flexible to me saying I may need time off or I may not need time off, but it all depends on your situation.
Yeah, no, I think that's really good advice. Definitely. And is there anything that you would have done differently looking back, do you think?
I think I wouldn't have done 3 rounds of IUI before I moved to IVF. Just that the doctor had kind of advised IVF to me, but I was like, no, I'll try IUI and see. But looking back now, I think, yeah, I definitely would have listened to the doctor more instead of thinking I knew more than the doctor. I had heard stories, success stories, this work, Google, you know, Google all these statistics, this works and that works. And so I think, yeah, I definitely would have done it the other way around and kind of listen to the doctor and just go with them, what they know. Obviously they know best.
That's fair enough.
I would be similar now, Doreen, as well. Like, it wasn't that I didn't listen to the doctor, but we were saying we did a couple of IUIs, but at the time we had unexplained infertilities. The doctors were like, look, it could work, it may not work. And we did 3 IUIs and then went on to the numerous IVF cycles. It was never going to work, but sure, the doctors never knew at that point. The other thing I would do different too, I actually never told too many people. I didn't tell too many people. I kept it quite like close to my chest that what we were going through, and I didn't tell work. Like, you know, I worked all my appointments around. I went in early, or I'd go at my lunch break. And in hindsight, like, I told my boss after I was pregnant, and he was like, Niamh, I wish you told me. It's a very family orientated company, and he said he wished I told me because he would have been more accommodating, maybe sort of understood if I was a bit stressed or upset on various days. So I think I would do that differently, and I would talk about it more. I'm very open about it now, but it's easy to be open about it when you've had success. You know, it's harder when you're fail after fail, because you don't want people, like, I was like, God, people are going to think, you know, I can't carry a baby, it's me, you know, and nobody's going to think that, but that's your own inherent feelings, because you are genuinely going to get upset. And if you do have a fail, it is very hard to take. But it is easier if people understand what you're going to, and they can, you know, they may say the wrong thing, they may put their foot in it, they may say something stupid, but they're less likely to do it if they know what you're going through, or to be more accommodating if you don't want to go to a baby shower or you don't want to go to a christening, you know. So I think I would try and be a bit more open, especially with your immediate family or people you're very close to. Whereas, you know, my parents knew and Jeff's parents knew, and that was really about it. Whereas we probably should have told more people, friends and family and so on.
Yeah, for us, I suppose, kind of the whole treatment process and everything, for us, I suppose we've been quite lucky that we got the embryos on the first round and all worked. And so from that side of things, for us, no, and that's why, fingers crossed, all goes same again now this time, and that's why we haven't had to, you know, explore other avenues, please God. Same with Niamh. Like, I would have thought I was quite vocal and open about kind of, you know, going through it, but there was scenarios in work where, like, even just when you're on the hormones, my God, like, you can be up and down, and like being in meetings, and if you just told maybe that one other person, you know, in work that you just had to confide in to kind of go, I can't deal with this today or that, like, because it's a roller coaster. So yeah, for me, and again, even this time, like, I am obviously in doing this, it's putting it out there that how vocal I am about it, but it's just to encourage more people to talk about it and not to hold it in, because it's hard.
And whatever you're feeling is normal too, you know, whether it be up or down, you might have a good day or a bad day. Like that would be a big advice for me, because again, I didn't talk to people, so I didn't have any other one saying what you're going through is completely normal. It's okay to be completely batshit off the wall, excuse my French, today because you're pumped up on hormones, but like tomorrow then feeling like, you know, completely on the opposite spectrum. So that's okay too. So if you are talking about it, and to understand it's okay to feel a bit all over the shop about it all.
Yeah, I was very vocal with everyone knew before I even had kind of my first appointment what I was going to do, and like I told work, everyone kind of knew. So I found that like if I was having a bad day in work or at home, or people knew what was going on, so it didn't, like it wasn't, oh my God, has she gone nuts or something in work? Like
it just takes it takes one less pressure off, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. So I would advise to be definitely open about it, and just have someone that you can talk to about it in work or at home or whatever the situation is. Yeah.
No, that sounds really important. Definitely. That's great advice there. Another question that came in was, I think, what was like the part of the journey that you found most challenging? I think because people were mentioning maybe injections, or was it kind of the actual procedure, the egg collection procedure, or like which parts did you actually found surprising, like, or maybe it was something that was actually better than you expected it to be, or, you know?
For me, for me, egg collection was grand, because you're sedated, so you just wake up and it's done. Injections, I think once you do the first one, I think it's daunting just thinking about it, but once you do the first one, you kind of get, it's like, it's not nice and you're bruised and you're that, but there's, you know, you have a purpose behind it, so I think it helps. Well, it did for me anyway. And the hardest part for me was kind of the commute up and down, just working around things. That was really it for me. Like the rest is transfer is like, it's so surreal because you can just see it going in and it's there, and it's just like, oh wow, it's just magical when it happens.
Yeah, I think for me the most difficult, like Doreen says, you sort of get over the needles, and like the drugs are great when you're getting the egg collection, so you know that's, you know, probably beforehand you're nervous about it, but we had so many of them, I was like, oh great, just give me the drugs, will be grand. I think personally the hardest bit, and I think I mentioned earlier, is that whole time between when you've actually had the transfer and the waiting to find out did it work. And because we had so many fails, that you nearly got to the point you were like, this is just so exhausting, and the emotion that goes in those 2 weeks. And like I said, try not to do it. I did it to death for the first few times, is Google everything. And sure, then, you know, it makes the roller coaster 10 times worse. So for me, that was the hardest part. And the hardest part of the last one, you'll read all about, do I test, don't I test before the actual test in Sims, and people will have different opinions. And I did test the last time and I'd never tested before, and I got a positive. And then I was like, oh God, it's probably not real, because I'd never done it before and we'd never had a positive. So the anxiety of that 2 weeks is the hardest part, and it was for me anyway. But it's trying to manage it. I did see a counselor because we'd gone through so many fails, and she was very good on helping me through that, and how to deal with it and emotionally deal with it, and how to process those 2 weeks, because for me that was the hardest. And because after so many fails, I felt I needed to talk to somebody, because I wasn't dealing with it the right way. I wasn't being I suppose open with myself, and I was introverting. So I think if you do feel that, definitely talk to somebody. There's plenty of fertility counselors out there, and I'm sure Sims can recommend some. So it's definitely worth doing that if you need to, and you're feeling that those 2 weeks are hard, because it did me the world of good, and it made me look at it a different way. So definitely that would be the hardest bit for me.
Yeah, I think definitely for me, the one thing I suppose that we found a little bit kind of daunting or challenging to kind of, we had to do ICSI IVF. So the two of us were going in for a procedure on the day, and my husband went down first. And when I was then going down for egg collection, they were at first had told me, oh, it doesn't look like we're going to get any samples, so we may just have to freeze your eggs. So kind of, and that was something, it didn't even come into my head that we wouldn't get that. So not saying prepare for the procedures a little bit more, but kind of for me, if I had researched some of the procedures a little bit more, because I researched other stuff to death, but there was, for me, like, I just didn't come into my head that that was an option. But and then, well, okay, we got lucky, but after that, then it was literally the 2-week wait. I think for me, if I could have waited 3 weeks, I would have, because that just gives you the hope. You know, I wasn't in a hurry to test, because I was like, as long as I don't test, you have your positive.
Yeah, that's a good point. I tested after 7 days, and got my positive, and then I was like, oh, then it was like you're testing every day, and the lines are they getting lighter? Are they getting darker? Are they getting? But like, it's just, I think it's just everyone deals with the 2-week wait different, and it's just you have to go with how you feel and just try and get through it.
There's definitely no right or wrong about it. Sure, there's not like you can't say what works for me may not work for Dorian or may not work for Kim. So it's really important that this is such a personal journey. And like I say, talk about it, but also don't overthink things, and you'll find everything online, and everybody will have an opinion, and everybody will have their own like way of doing things. But the most important thing is actually, I think, just to look after yourself during the whole journey, because you're the one who can, and anyone who's around you, if they know, they can look after you, because it is hard. Like, no matter what anyone says, emotionally it's hard, physically it's hard. There's so much that you go through, but it will be worth it, which is the most important thing at the end of the day, you know.
I think you hit a valid point there, Niamh. Like, and we're doing it again. And we're actually going away this weekend. If you can get a couple of days away and just kind of switch off before you start into your medication and your cycle, and just kind of have a bit of couple time together, I think you need to look after yourself really well before you head into this. And God knows, after you have kids, it's hard to get that time anyway.
No, great advice there. And so guys, if there is any questions, if you have specific questions you'd like to ask, you can pop them in the Q&A box there. But I suppose one of the other questions that kind of came up was just around, like we've kind of covered it already, but is there one piece of advice, say someone is just starting, even be it that they want to go down the solo motherhood route, or maybe it's not happening for them at the moment, what's one piece of advice that you'd probably give them before they start?
For me, it would be just the solo route, kind of, if you really want it, you know, like, you're gonna, well, for me, I really wanted to be a mommy by I was 35, so I was kind of watching the clock, and then I was like, and then someone said to me, why are you waiting until you're 35 to have a baby? And I was like, oh, that's just the number I had in my head. So she said, well, it was actually a doctor. She was like, well, I'd be looking into it now and then, because the older you get, like, more complications could arise. So I was very lucky. By the time I was 35, a month later, I had Noah. So I think if it's there and it keeps coming up in your head that you want a child, it's worth looking into more. That's for me anyway.
Yeah.
And try and enjoy the whole, my IUIs is up the walls, because I didn't know what was going on. Drugs were new to me, everything. And then I took a break between IUI and IVF, and I just said, I'm going to try and enjoy this. I'm going to give it the best shot I can. I'm going to do everything they say, do what I'm meant to do, and just see what happens. And it worked.
My advice is definitely find the right doctor that works for you. Do you know, we did go through a number of clinics, being completely frank and honest. Like, Sims was our last clinic. But the minute we walked through the door in Sims, and when we met the doctor we had at the time, my husband for the first time said he felt comfortable. He felt like that doctor was being open and honest and really, like, engaged with him. Whereas he felt before the doctor might just talk to me, and, like, you know, I'm a scientist, or that was my background. And that was why he said half time he didn't understand what the doctor was saying to him. Whereas I'd be like, oh, well, you know, whereas this doctor actually spoke to both of us. So my advice is, it's really important that you feel at ease with your doctor. And if the one doctor, it doesn't suit you, you know, maybe meet someone else, or, you know, try a few. If you're going down that road, if you're starting the process, meet one or two. Like, it's worth paying the extra bit to go to another consultant and check out someone else if you've any doubt in the back of your mind, because you know, as I say, we went to 3 clinics, and the minute we walked into Sims, we were happy. And I'm not saying that because this is Sims related, it could have been, you know, but it is the most important thing for us. And I'll say it, anyone who rings or talks to me or messages me and asks, I'll say, make sure you're comfortable with your doctor, because if you've any doubt, you want to be able to ask those questions. And you know, like you mentioned earlier, you thought you knew more than the doctor, Doreen, but it's important that you can even have that conversation and say, look, I've read about this. Do you think this is a good idea? And for you to have an honest and frank conversation. And like the doctor we had was very like, I think that's a good idea, let's do it. Or actually, this is why I think we shouldn't do it. And we were able to have those really frank conversations, where we had a doctor previously who would just sort of wouldn't engage at all with any of our suggestions or ideas, because at the end of the day, and you mentioned it there, Kimmy, earlier, you will research things, you want to look into it. So it's important that if you do read something, regardless of where it comes from, that they even just engage with you. So that was my, like, as I say, we went through a number of clinics and a number of fails. And the minute we walked into Sims, even though we did have our first round in Sims, it wasn't successful. We knew we were going to stay there because we felt it was going to work with them, and it did. 3 babies later.
Yeah, look, I think even I just think, like, you know, I suppose a lot of people, like I'm in my mid-30s heading into the late 30s. I think people are obviously that bit older, also starting families. And even if it's just somewhere in your radar, and especially if, like, for me, it was because there was a family like connection. If it's in your radar and you're just a little bit concerned, just go start even having the investigations. It might put your mind at ease, and then kind of you can put it to the side, because there is a lot of people going, well, God, if I knew this, we would have started earlier for a family. So, you know, there's absolutely no harm in just going, getting the test done, man, like male, female, and just, you know, take that stress out of it for you.
Definitely. No, I have to say thank you guys so much. You're all amazing. I think this is just I really are. I think it's just so great to hear from a patient perspective, and these really, really good, you know, pieces of advice for people just starting off. I think it's so important to hear it straight from patients' mouths rather than from ours or whatever. So I have to say thank you so much. I mean, it's you know, the advice you've given is just brilliant. But I don't know if we have any more questions. I think we've covered a lot, unless anyone, unless you guys have anything else you'd like to add, or is there anything we haven't covered? No,
I think the other thing I would say is, you know, Sims have shared all of our tags on Instagram. Sometimes people want to ask something personally, like, be afraid to put it in here in a chat. Like, never be afraid to reach out. There's a good community out there on Instagram, or on, like, I'm not other networks, but there's people on other social networks as well. Ask somebody who's been there, find them. Like, I struggled to find too many who'd gone through as many cycles as we had. So, like, you know, find those people and ask the questions, because people do have, you know, they'll say, yes, no, it worked, it didn't work. And like I say, it is an individual journey, but sometimes it's important to just hear somebody's gone there and has had success. So definitely worth, you know, reaching out to people in the social networks. There is good communities out there.
Definitely. Because I think, Niamh, yours is tripping over triplets, and then Kim is more IVF mum, is it? And Doreen is Doreen SNBC, I think. So anyway, I can share those on our Instagram. It is on our Instagram grid, on one of the grid posts, but I'll do a story tonight, and I'll pop your Instagram handles there, because you guys are a wealth of information, which is brilliant. So
we're here to ask or answer anything we can.
You're very good. So I think if there's nothing else, or no one else has any other questions, we'll let everyone enjoy their evening. But again, thank you guys so much, and thank you to everyone who attended tonight. Really appreciate it, and I hope that you learned something from this today. But thanks very much, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.